Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We'll be starting shortly.
Treat me right. You're the one I like. You make me feel so good inside. Treat me right. You're the one I like. You make me feel so good inside.
All about the bounce in my step. Watch it on the news, what you gonna do? I could hit refresh and forget. Used to keep it cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage from Adobe, Rhianne Douglas.
And welcome. I would like to extend a really warm welcome to all of you here in person, as well as those of you joining us on the live stream watching from home. I'm thrilled that you've decided to spend this evening with us and join us for our Adobe Creative Meetup. Tonight, we have got so much in store for you. We are bringing all the fun and creativity from last month's Adobe MAX conference in LA straight to you here in London. We're bringing together some of the UK's most creative minds for an evening jam-packed with inspirational talks, presentations, and demos. It is an incredible lineup, which includes our very own Creative Cloud Evangelist, Rufus Deuchler, plus, yes, plus we have some fantastic luminary speakers who'll be taken to the stage throughout this evening. They are the creative minds behind the incredible graphics seen in the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts film series, Miraphora Mina and Eduardo Lima, otherwise known as Mina Lima, as well as one of the UK's fastest growing content creators, Patricia Bright, who is going to be interviewed here on stage by Simon Morris, who's Adobe's Senior Director of Campaign Marketing. If that wasn't enough, we'll also be giving you guys here in London the chance to experience our new products and apps for yourselves in the creative spaces that you'll see dotted around the room. And for those of you joining us at home on the live stream, do not worry, we have plenty in store for you too, as photographer Shane Vincent and our creative resident Isabel Leah will be keeping you entertained during the break in just under an hour's time. Shane will be telling you all about his involvement in our Spidergram competition, which is currently live, and how you can win some fantastic prizes by taking part yourselves. But more on that later this evening. As always, we'll be tweeting live throughout the evening from @Adobe UK, so please do join in the conversation with us using the hashtag Adobe Creative Meetup. Now that's enough from me. Let's move on to the real reason why we're here tonight. Last month, we announced a raft of brand new Creative Cloud products, apps, and features at our annual MAX conference in LA. They included the launch of Premiere Rush CC and previews of some of our next generation products, including Project Gemini, Photoshop on iPad, and Xd voice integration. By joining us tonight, you'll be some of the first in this country to see these new updates in person. But me talking about them really doesn't do them any justice. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rufus Deuchler, our very own Creative Cloud Evangelist, who will walk you through some of these incredible features that are now available or coming soon, all of which are designed with creativity for all in mind. Welcome, Rufus.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Hey everyone.
Let's get it
Good evening.
started. Let's get it started.
Good evening. All right. Hello here in the room, and we have a full house here in London. And hello to everybody watching online. Why don't we all turn around and wave to those who are watching online? Like in the cameras. Hey there. We love you too. Even you're not here, you know, you're with us. So I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you about, what we did at Adobe MAX 2018 just a few weeks ago, and also talk about, some of the innovations we are bringing to the creative market, and also show you some stuff, of course, like some of the new features in our applications. But before I begin, let me talk a little bit about what MAX is. MAX is the largest creativity conference in the whole world. And that's where the community comes together to learn, share ideas, and get inspired. And this year was our biggest Adobe MAX ever. We had over 14,000 people from over 60 countries from around the world. So it was really, really massive. And more than 100,000 people actually viewed the MAX keynotes and the sneaks and all of these things online while we were doing it at Adobe MAX. And MAX is also, and that's my last point here, it's also a great opportunity to learn. We have over, in MAX 2018, we had over 300 sessions and labs and workshops for attendees to really learn how to stay ahead of the game. And this is really what MAX is all about, so that everybody who comes to MAX, who enjoys MAX, learns from Max actually is ready for a new year of creativity with the new tools and knows exactly how they work. So mark your calendars, because Adobe MAX will be back again in Los Angeles early November 2019. So if you want to go, mark your calendars. It's a great, great conference. How many of you were at Adobe MAX in the room? I know some of you were. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, in the back. Oh, they're all hiding there in the back. Well, how's Max? Did you like it? Okay. All right. So let's begin now. And what I wanted to do first is to state our vision for Creative Cloud once more. And that vision is really to enable creativity for all, to really enable everybody with an idea to be able to express that. And the market trends are making creativity more accessible every day, making it possible really for everyone who has a story to tell to do so, and to do so maybe more importantly, with impact. Okay, so everybody has the opportunity today to tell their story with impact. And with that in mind, today I will talk about 3 main things. And the first one being the current creativity trends that we're seeing at Adobe and that we're observing. Then go over the main themes of Adobe MAX 2018, and also go over what's been announced at MAX 2018. So at the end of this presentation, we'll all be on the same page. We know what Max is, and we know what Creative Cloud is and what it can do for your creativity. So what are these trends that we're talking about? Mobile devices are more and more part of our daily life, and they're more powerful than ever before, making them not just for consumption, but more and more also a creation device. Okay? Be that on your phone, on your tablet, on the devices you carry around with you. And people really now expect to have the ability to create, access, and share their content wherever they are and whenever they want to. Okay? This is really important in our vision. So the creative process is also becoming more and more collaborative. Creatives are working together, illustrators with designers, with marketeers, with developers, with other stakeholders in the creative pipeline. People expect to be able to work together to share their stuff easily. And also, there's new mediums that are highly interesting, such as, for example, augmented reality, virtual reality, and voice interactions, which are coming on our devices, and which make our devices a completely new medium that we have to leverage and somehow enable everybody here in the creative community to be able to do stuff for. And the final trend is one that people usually say, oh, artificial intelligence, it's scary. But really, it is not. Because artificial intelligence and machine learning, that's really one of those mega trends we hear over and over in the media. But we also found out that artificial intelligence can have a uniquely positive impact on creative work. So we recently commissioned Andreas Pfeiffer and the Pfeiffer Report to do a qualitative research study for us. And he interviewed over 100 creative professionals from the UK and from Germany and from the US. And so it really enabled us to understand what creatives were expecting from artificial intelligence and what they were concerned or not concerned about. So one thing that I find extremely interesting is that 74% of creative professionals told us that they spend 50% of their time actually doing repetitive tasks. This is perfect fodder for artificial intelligence. This is what artificial intelligence should be for, to help us do these repetitive things much, much faster. And enable us creatives to be able to do what we're valued for, what we're good at, and that's our creative thinking. So artificial intelligence will become more and more important to make the life of creative professionals much, much easier, taking away the menial tasks, the repetitive tasks. And I'm going to be showing some of these today in my presentation. So against that backdrop, let us now take a step back and look at how this release of Creative Cloud, the 2019 release of Creative Cloud, actually addresses this ever-evolving need of creators. So there are three main themes that we brought to Adobe MAX 2018. And they revolve around, first, letting you work faster. That's always optimizing your workflows, letting you do things faster, to have that time for your creative thoughts and your creative process. The second one is unleashing creativity, making it possible not only to work on your laptops or your desktop computers, but really to create tools that work on your mobile devices and really unleash the creativity and let you be creative wherever you are and whenever you want to. And also giving you the ability to create anything across any medium. That's our third theme for Max this year. So the first theme revolves around accelerating your work. And we're doing that with a whole bunch of productivity enhancements across the board in all of the Creative Cloud apps. We also have better and more cross-application integration, meaning that applications work better together. And I'm going to be mentioning some of those in a few minutes. And also, one thing that is fundamental is a quicker access to assets and services. Okay? We want to be able to find our assets, to find assets we don't have, or access services from whatever device, wherever we are, and whenever we want to. So we're also introducing many Sensei-powered features. And Sensei is this artificial intelligence that I was talking about. Basically, a whole bunch of algorithms that make your life easier. I'll be coming over Sensei in a second. The second point is a successful onboarding experience. This is something that we've put a lot of work in. You've started to see the beginnings of it in the start screen in most of the applications, where we are really evolving now in this new version to a very personalized and accessible home screen, so that it includes tutorials to get started that are accessible right from within the app or the home screens, inspirational content, and your latest creations right there at your fingertips so you can open them very quickly. So the home screen really grows with the users as they become more experienced and get to know our tools better, and it evolves like that. And just to get my point across here, I would like you to remember the first time you opened Photoshop or Premiere or After Effects. It's a daunting experience. You have to do a lot of reading. You have to do a lot of understanding. What are all these buttons? No. I'm going to go back to drawing or something like that, okay? So many give up. And this is something that we want to address. And this is why we spend so much time on the home screen, on the onboarding experience, to make our users successful much faster. Okay? This is really the key here. And third, we are taking the connection between learning and inspiration one step further. So a year ago, we started broadcasting what we call Adobe Lives. And we do that on Behance now. So Behance not only becomes a hub for finding creative work, but it also becomes a hub for learning, sharing your process, and looking at professionals over the shoulder and trying to figure out how they work. And what's really cool with Adobe Live is that many of us realize, oh, but the creative professionals also make mistakes. They're human too. Maybe I can make it, okay? So Adobe Live is becoming increasingly important. So it's a great resource to learn and evolve. So there are many updates, of course, in all of our flagship products. I'm just going to go over a few with you tonight. And I'm going to start with photography. So for example, to make your life easier in Lightroom, for example, we've added the possibility to migrate Apple photo libraries much faster to your Lightroom CC. Or we've improved the tethering process, the ability to see a live feed of your camera inside of Lightroom while you're taking pictures. So making life easier in the photography side. Within the design apps, of course, there's a plethora of new features. And Photoshop, we've added a whole bunch of just do it features. We call them JDIs. And these include making undo, Command Z. Okay, now you can do Command Z, 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 and go back in time, okay? Without having to know that special shortcut to go back in history, okay? Like Photoshop was always supposed to be, right? Who invented going back in history? You know, why couldn't I not do Command Z from the very beginning. Or adding type and auto-resizing, which is much more intuitive, all right? And always remember, the changes we're making are also for people who are starting with the app. Okay? We may know all of the shortcuts and things like that, and we can maybe quickly do them. But like somebody new to the application, like the resizing without holding Shift and it stays in proportion makes a whole bunch of sense. InDesign also has a new contextually aware properties panel, very much like Illustrator, which activates only the properties that are relevant to the tool I'm using or the object I have selected on the artboard. Super, super useful. In Illustrator, you can now customize the toolbar. There's many tools that you'll never, ever use in Illustrator. Why should it clutter your toolbar? You can now remove things, you can move things around, and make the toolbar work for you. In Adobe Dimension, which is our application for letting designers use 3D objects in a 2D environment and casting shadows and things like that. If you haven't, check it out. It's super cool. We've actually have a much better rendering engine now, and so the renderings that come out of Dimension come much faster. And Adobe Bridge. Yes, you've heard me right. Adobe Bridge. Adobe Bridge is rising from the ashes. Who's using Adobe Bridge here? Okay, very few. Okay, you're going to be many more now, because Bridge is really the hub for all of your creative work. And we've made it so that it has a new UI, like much more modern, and it supports bulk uploads of CC libraries, something that is otherwise tedious because you have to do it on the web or move things. Now you can use Bridge to actually pilot your CC libraries and assets and things like that. So super cool. Adobe Bridge. I would have never thought I'd say that in 2018, but yes, Bridge is back. And Creative Cloud members also have access through Creative Cloud, of course, to a brand new Acrobat. And Acrobat Dc provides a completely reimagined way to share the work, to create review cycles with your customers, and approvals that people can approve documents. So it makes it very easy for creative professionals to communicate with their customers without sending big email attachments, okay, which always infuriate me. Okay, what? 25 megabyte? Really? What for? Okay. For video, we have a brand new workflow for animation between After Effects and Animate and Character Animator to do that sort of animation much, much faster. And in Premiere Pro and After Effects, we have new audio cleanup tools. And that's super cool because instead of having to clean up the audio now in Audition, like to jump to Audition, I can now use Premiere or After Effects to remove noise or reverb and things like that right inside of the application, saving you time. So today, there's more than 100 powered capabilities in products in our products or in the pipeline coming for future products across the Creative Cloud, the Document Cloud, which includes Acrobat, and the Experience Cloud. So Adobe has 3 clouds. Many of you know the Creative Cloud, but there's also other clouds. And this slide actually summarizes the current Sensei features across Creative Cloud. At Max, we've introduced over a dozen new Sensei-powered features. And remember, Sensei is our artificial intelligence. It's our smart algorithms. So for example, I'll be showing you in Photoshop in a second a brand new content-aware fill workspace in Photoshop that makes it much easier to fill spaces with content-aware content with much more precision, and it will save editors a whole bunch of time using these new features. And also a new content-aware fit feature in InDesign. I'll be showing that too, because that's kind of interesting, because when I'll be showing you. Basically, the algorithm understands what's the interesting part of the image is and centers that image inside of the image frame inside of InDesign. Artificial intelligence, making your life easier, okay? Nothing else. Then, in Illustrator, we're also adding ability to create natural gradients with a new gradient tool, which is called freeform gradients. And also, we introduced a new tool in Character Animator called Characterizer. And with Characterizer, you can actually animate portraits with you talking, and so that it kind of takes the portrait and makes a moving portrait out of it while you're talking to your camera. So a whole new workflow for animating this kind of thing. So let's shift gears now and talk a little bit about Adobe Xd. Remember that Adobe Xd is our all-in-one user interface and user experience tool for designing, prototyping, and sharing. Okay? And we are 100% focused with that application on quality and performance. And I'll be showing, actually, not me, Stephanie over there will be showing some of the new features in Adobe Xd. And since we've launched Adobe MAX a couple of years ago, we've added over 60 features to Adobe Xd. It's really one of our fastest growing applications because we are actually involving the community in deciding what is important for UI and experience design. Okay, so we have a thing called user voice. We have that for InDesign and Illustrator as well, where users can actually upvote features, making it very transparent for both the users and for us at Adobe to understand what has to be done and what needs to be added inside of the application. So probably the most interesting features in this new version of Xd are the ability to prototype voice applications, to create automatic animations inside of Adobe Xd without having to necessarily go to After Effects and do videos, and very tight integration with Illustrator and After Effects. Illustrator for getting Illustrator files into Xd, and After Effects, of course, for taking Xd animations and bring them one step further, adding your knowledge that you may have or may not have in After Effects. So, Adobe Xd, we'll be looking at that in a second as well. So the next theme is around liberating your creativity. And we're investing a lot in making collaboration and the full power of Creative Cloud available anywhere you want to work. Okay, this is what we call unleashing creativity, liberating the creativity. So last year, we introduced Lightroom CC, liberating you from your desktop computer or your laptop, being able to work on your phone or your tablet, on your Lightroom library, and edit pictures and do everything you need to do in Lightroom. And today, I'm also excited to show you what we have planned for video content creation, creative imaging, and also drawing. So I'm super thrilled to talk to you a little bit about Adobe Rush, which was called Project Rush. We previewed that earlier this year. And Project Rush shipped as a 1.0 version at Adobe MAX 2018 and is now called Premiere Rush CC. So it's an integral part of the Premiere family, of our video tools. What is Rush? Rush is really an all-in-one cross-device video capture, editing, and publishing app. Okay? And you can do that from your phone, from your desktop, from your tablet. And it's really geared towards content video creators, that create content multiple times a week, that need to be fast at uploading it, that need to be freed, unleashing creativity. So with Rush, we also made sure that the onboarding experience is super simple, so you don't have to be a video expert or a color expert or an audio expert to do great videos. I'm going to be showing you Rush in a second. Because Rush really offers you an intuitive interface, drag and drop and things, and cut and put audio and export. It also has what we call autoduck, so the ability to understand when there's voice and to turn down the music automatically. So that makes it easier when you have like interview-style content. Color correction, just like in Premiere Pro. And it also comes with a whole bunch of motion graphics templates with lower thirds and titles and things like that that you can easily add. And you can also make different versions, optimized for various platforms, square format for Instagram, or vertical format for Instagram stories, or whatever. Okay, there's buttons for that, and you can export it to the social platforms that you prefer. Plus, from the desktop, it's then super easy to take your Rush project to Premiere and continue working there. Okay, because Rush exists on the desktop as well. But if I want to take it a step further and like do corrections that I may not be able to do in Rush right now, I can do that in Premiere. So now let's talk a little bit about creative imaging. And our vision is that users will be able to work with Photoshop anywhere and on any device. So at MAX 2018, we actually showed a working prototype of Photoshop on the iPad. And basically what we've shown there, and I'm going to show you a very short video of that in a second, just so that you get the idea of what's happening here. It's not a watered-down version of Photoshop. It's a Photoshop that understands PSD files. It understands layers. It understands advanced editing and compositing techniques. And really, it has everything that our customers expect from Photoshop, except it's on a tablet. And because the files that are generated by Photoshop on the iPad are real PSDs, of course, you can then work on them in Photoshop on your desktop, and that both on a Mac or a PC. So let me just show you on the iPad. I just made a quick video from what was shown at MAX, and as you can see, the whole layer structure is there. There's hue and saturations, the layer properties. Really nothing is missing there, and there's literally hundreds of different layers. And what I want you to notice here is how responsive this version of Photoshop is, even panning and zooming inside of the document right down to the pixel level, okay? And that's on an iPad. And that's another example. That's a PSD, yeah, that's in Photoshop CC. And we're going to take that file and open that file in Photoshop on the iPad with all the layers intact. And we can then continue to work on our mobile device, really freeing your creativity using all of the tools that we love and find useful in Photoshop, like the brushes. All of Kyle's brushes are now in CC. You know that, right? They've been there for a year, okay? All of Kyle's brushes are there. This is another good example of where I can use the blending modes inside of a more complex image, make corrections to the light in the image, and then last but not least, I'll also be adding here a gradient across the image. Oh no, I'm still retouching there, making some of the areas of the forest a little bit lighter. And there we go. Now we have, let's create a little gradient across the image. And going through the blending modes, I can very quickly and easily apply the right color tones to that image. So as you can see, it is truly a Photoshop on your mobile device, not a watered-down version. And this is coming in 2019. The other app that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to be showing you that live in a second, is Project Gemini. Basically, Project Gemini takes Photoshop Sketch and Illustrator Draw, which are two separate apps right now, one for pixels, one for vectors, and takes them together. And basically, what we're doing here is really to create an application where there's only one drawing application. And you can draw vectors, you can draw rasters, you can do all sorts of things that previously you had to do in two different applications. And then, of course, from Gemini, you can then jump easily to Photoshop or Illustrator to continue with the work. Additionally, of course, you can use all of Kyle's brushes, all of the brushes that you enjoy in Photoshop inside of Gemini. But we're also introducing a whole brand new breed of brushes, and we call them dynamic brushes. And we're starting in Project Gemini with watercolor brushes that behave just like watercolor brushes, as you will see in a second, and also oil painting. the painting really mixes like it was oil. So really, Project Gemini is designed to emulate natural media in a more realistic way than ever before. Lastly, and that's our third Max theme, is creating anything. So as I've said, augmented reality and virtual reality have a tremendous potential to disrupt the way people actually experience the world around them. And we at Adobe are super committed to empowering you, the creators, to succeed across all of these new mediums. And for that, we're launching a new project called Project Aero. And what we've seen is that augmented reality, creators for augmented reality are really underserved today because tools require coding, the output is rudimentary, it's kind of difficult. So Project Aero is a new AR authoring tool, which is built for designers by the company that I believe understands designers. Okay, so we know how you want to work with augmented reality, and we're giving you a way to do that. This, of course, was also presented at the last Apple event, and we're actually working very closely with Apple and Pixar to push a standard format for augmented reality, which is the USDZ file format. So we're really helping designers and developers alike to actually being able to focus on this standardized format for augmented reality experiences. And just to give you a quick look, I have a video here again from Max, just to show you. This is a drawing by Dan Mumford. From London. He's an incredible illustrator. He couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately. But anyway, this was on Photoshop on the iPad. It's layer-based. And Zorana just laid it on a table on that flat surface. And then there's a whole bunch of things that we can do. For example, saying, OK, I want the depth. I want these layers to separate. And now I can take these Photoshop layers and walk around them and really experience the image as if they were layers. I can move inside of the image. This is what augmented reality is all about, to enhance, to augment the reality in our world. This is another example, starting in Adobe Dimension, which is our 3D, 2D app. And here Zorana is simply changing the color of the shoe, for example, and then taking that shoe and putting it in on this pedestal in a store, for example. Of course, then we can decide what to do with that shoe. We can decide, for example, that I want to swipe through various versions of that, cycle through variations of the shoe. So I can get closer and look at the various models without having to actually get them out of the box and look at them or move around on a shelf. And also, interestingly, is the possibility to actually trigger actions based on things like proximity, okay? So now Zorana is moving closer to the object, and you will see that the object then triggers an animation of the shoe exploding, and then I can get more information about the product itself. So that is Project Aero, and I'm super curious to see what you guys will create with that. And that's also coming in 2019. In addition to offering the tools that you need to work in your creative business, of course, there's a whole bunch of services that we're working on. And there's two big announcements here, really. One is about Typekit, which is now becoming Adobe Fonts. Okay? So no more Typekit, it's called Adobe Fonts. Just like it's part of the family. And all Creative Cloud subscriptions now include the entire font library. And there's no more sync limit. There's no more limit on the page views. And for Adobe Stock, we introduced a whole new way of looking for images, Sensei-based. We can look for images based on their color, or we can look for images that have a free space where I want to put text, for example. So a whole bunch of things that will make your life easier and enable your creativity. So, of course, all of these innovations are available today. They've been available since MAX for individuals, small businesses, our education customers, students and teachers alike, and, of course, larger enterprises. But let's move on to my iPad for a second. And I'm gonna go here for, can we move over to the iPad? There we go. Let me just close here for a second and move to the iPad. And I can make it. There we go. Now, on the iPad, there's two things that I wanted to show you really. One is Project Rush, which is available now. And basically, making a video is as easy as going to Home. I'm going to say plus, create a new project. Create a new project. Oh. Add media. There we go. And I'm going to take media from, let me see, from my sample media. Okay? And it's as simple as clicking on the videos and saying, OK, these 3 videos. And I'm going to create my video. Rush is importing these 3 files. And now I can start working on them. But like I said, I mentioned auto-duck before. Like when there's a voice, I actually want the music to go down. So let's add some music to here. So I'm going to add some media. Let me put some audio in there. And there's also some Rush soundtracks. And I'm going to take the first one here, and I'm going to add it right there from that point here. And if I press play now, we should be hearing the music.
God, I love the Philippines.
You see, he's speaking, but the music was too loud. So what I can do, let me just stop this here, go back here. And what I'm going to say is here, inside of the audio panel here, under Advanced, I'm going to say Auto-Duck. And you will see that automatically, whenever there's voice here, the volume will go down here. OK? Let's do that again. Yeah.
Oh, God, I love the Philippines.
Oh, it didn't select it. OK, you catch my drift. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of things that I can do with filters. I can make it the video more cinematic, for example. Oh, it's downloading the presets here. Put in transitions between the various videos. And like I said, I can also choose to make it a portrait mode or a square video. And very easily, I can go in here and really decide where the video goes and how to export that. And then once I'm ready to share, I go to Share here, and I can export for various quality settings. I can choose from various frame rates and presets, and then it'll give me an estimated file size, and I can export that for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, etc. So Adobe Rush is really a very simple entry into the video world, being able to cut your videos, put transitions in, put titles, put colors, and work with audio. The other app that I wanted to show you is Project Gemini. And Project Gemini, I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to say, let's make iPad landscape here. So basically what we see here now is that we have the layer structure over here. And I have all of the brushes that I expect from Photoshop. These are my pixel brushes. So if I start painting here, and there's a little nifty little button right here, which allows me to turn my pencil into an eraser and use that right away, okay, and paint like that. So these are pixels. And in the Layers panel, it actually shows me these are pixels. So if I go now to another type of brush, which is the vector brushes, and start drawing in vectors, okay, automatically I have a new layer for my vector brushes. Okay? So basically, these two things now live together. Let me erase all of that. Let's make a big eraser here and get rid of all of that. Oh, I need to everything here. Okay. Because the two other brushes that I wanted to show you are these live brushes. And I can also take this out, for example, watercolor. And let's choose another color. Let's go here and take that, for example. And as I paint, you see that it really behaves like watercolor. And let's take a darker color here and start painting inside of here. The colors actually mix. Is that pretty cool or what? So these are the new dynamic brushes for watercolor, for example. Or let me just erase that and go here, okay, and go here and take my other brushes, which are the oil brushes. And let's start with the red, and really, like, I really get this feeling of oil, okay? And if I take a lighter color now and start mixing here, you know, I can really, like, start mixing the colors like real oil painting, okay? So it's a brand new way of drawing, and this also is coming in 2019. So, very exciting stuff on mobile devices. But now I would like to call up here on stage Stephanie Meyer, which is our new Xd evangelist here in the UK. Stephanie, yes, hello Stephanie, who is... It's her first presentation today, and she's going to be showing us her 3 favorite features in Adobe Xd that were presented at MAX. Stephanie, it's all yours.
Rufus. Hi guys, I'm Stephanie. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm really happy to show you the 3 new amazing features in Adobe Xd, which were presented at Adobe MAX. So here, as you can see, I have a conceptual design of a music app. Xd is great. You can zoom in and out, and it constrains the proportion, it constrains the layers, the resolution, we all loved listening to music app, don't we? But now we have the time where the app actually listens to us.
Just gonna put the music here.
Yeah, we need sound for music app. Thanks. Here we are in prototype mode, and on that specific screen, we can now, instead of just tap, we can now choose voice as a trigger to connect artboards to each other. We can choose a command, and we can choose a speech playback as an action for this trigger. So let me show you how this works. If I press the play button, and I say, show Soulful.
Which song do you want to play?
Play Blue Skies. And that's voice command. So it has an integrated Alexa in there, and you can now create prototypes with voice commands in Adobe Xd. And on this screen, we see already our next new great feature, which is Auto Animate. So it looks like the sound waves took an age to create, right? But actually, you can create that thanks to Auto Animate in seconds in Adobe Xd. So let me show you how. We have here 3 identical screens, and the only difference are the sound waves. You can now simply just connect the screens and choose Auto Animate as a trigger. And it's going to move and animate your sound waves smoothly. That is what comes out of it. So now the last feature, but not least, is imagine your client asks you to recreate your whole design as a tablet app. It will take you an age, right? But now we have the amazing feature, you just copy and paste your artboard. You unlock it, and we have here responsive resize. So you simply tick the responsive resize and drag out the artboard to your tablet size. And it constrains the proportions, it doesn't mess up your icons, and you can just work with it. You can obviously get rid of the tab bar to put the iPad tab bar in it to have it right, but yeah, it creates it for you, and you have no messed up design. So yeah, I hope you like the new features, and I can't wait to see what you're going to create with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Great stuff. And Stephanie will be in the XD corner down there if you want to meet her and say hi and give her words of encouragement. Welcome to Adobe, Stephanie. Now, let's move faster here. Let me go to InDesign to start with. Yeah, let's go here. And what I wanted to show you in InDesign was this thing about the intelligent reframing of pictures. So I'm just making this frame bigger, and we know that we can auto-fit images inside of InDesign. So the normal auto-fit would be this one here, and it fits the image like this, right? But there's a whole part of the image missing. So let me show you the new feature, which is called Content-Aware Fit. Okay, and you can also add that to your image frame properties, of course, and look at the difference. Adobe Sensei, understands what the image is about and what to frame, okay? I'm not saying it's always perfect, but what I'm saying is that it just saves me a couple of seconds. And if I manage hundreds of images, these couple of seconds become minutes and hours and, and so on. So I think this is a super interesting feature that is already in Adobe InDesign. Let me see if I can find a title here somewhere. Let me move here, because one thing that I mentioned to you about Adobe Type is the ability now to actually, and this is crazy. Let me just select this text here, for example, and go here into my font menu. Oh, no, that's not the font menu. Where's my font menu? Here, right here. Oh, now it's hidden, of course. Let me just put it over here. Let me go into my font menu, and I can, of course, cycle through the various fonts here. But what is super interesting, I can choose Find More. And Find More actually shows me all of the Adobe fonts, okay? Even if I don't have them downloaded on my desktop, okay? So I can go here and actually preview that text with all of the fonts of Adobe Font. And when I'm ready to use it, I say, okay, wow, I like this one. Let's download it. Let's activate that font. And remember, since Max, Adobe Font has no more limitation. It used to be you can't download more than 100 fonts. This limit does not exist anymore. So if your heart so wishes, you could potentially download the whole Adobe font library if you wanted to, but then why would you? And another thing is in InDesign that we've added, and let me just move over here to PDF for a second. This is a typical PDF with annotations, right? Let me just fit it in the screen. Annotations, and this is how our customers are actually sending us back PDFs with their notes, okay? Is the date accurate? Is this the right font? Or, is this the final font? And stuff like that. So now in InDesign, what you can do, and I'm going to go here under, where is it? PDF comments. I can import those PDF comments into my InDesign document without having to open Acrobat, okay? So I see all of those comments in my InDesign document. I can make the corrections. I can say, okay, I'm going to say okay to this. I'm going to trash this one, and so on, and go through the revision process much, much easier, all right? Let me just jump over to Photoshop, because my time is running out. And make that bigger here. I was talking about, this new Sensei powered autofill. So for example, what I want to do here, and I'm going to just select my very rudimentary lasso tool here, and I'm going to say, okay, I want this to be filled in, all right? So it would be Shift, Delete, and I would say content aware, okay, and I would probably get something like this, okay? It's almost perfect. It's Adobe Sensei, but it's not perfect, all right? So I'm going to Command-Z out of that, and under Edit, I now have the content-aware fill window, where I can do a whole bunch of other stuff. So I can say, okay, I don't want any information from this area here, okay? So I can paint over it. I can use my shortcuts to make the brush bigger and say, okay, I don't want any of the stones here. Let's remove that. What I'm interested in, though, is the butterfly over here, so I'm going to add that, okay? And you can already see that as I'm doing this, things are changing over here. But what's super interesting is that not only does it intelligently now find the content for that, but I can also say, for example, where is it? Scale or mirror. And I want it from the other side of the wing, okay? The other wing. So I say mirror. Mirror the content from over there. And as I select mirror, you can see the preview here, and it perfectly takes this other part of the image and fills it inside of Photoshop. So this is Sensei. This is artificial intelligence. These are algorithms that are working for you, that are making your life easier. Another feature that I really love is, let me just move out of this and say cancel. Let me move here on to this image that my colleague Paul Trani made. And inside of the layers, what I'm going to do is activate this gradient layer, for example. And you know how tedious it is to go through the blending modes, right? You have to select the blending mode, click. Oh, wrong one. next one, okay? Now, I can simply move my mouse and go through the various blending modes and find the exact one that I need. Is that cool or what? And Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, as much as I want. One more thing, I promise. Where's Rianne? Rianne, she's not even signaling to me that I should be over. That's good. Good sign. Because this is a real time saver in Illustrator. So I created all of these cards and things and writing paper, but I forgot to make symbols, okay? So if I take one of those symbols and, for example, take this object here, let me just move into here, and turn it around, for example, like this, I would have to do that in all of the other instances, right? But now, in Illustrator, what I can do, I'm going to move out of isolation mode here. I'm going to go in here in the Properties panel, and, oh, more isolation, there we go. I'm going to say, where is it? I lost it. I'm sure somebody here in the first row says, Rufus, how dumb are you? It's right there. I don't know. I lost it. Anyway, come on, to make global edits. Where's my global edit button? I can't see it. Anyway, global edit in Adobe Illustrator allows you to make changes to something. Adobe Sensei will look at all of the other elements and say, oh, this is the same, looks like the same, so if Rufus moves it, I'm going to move it on all of the other ones. And with that, my friend, and a little Adobe Cadabra to that last thing that I wasn't able to show, my forgiveness, I thank you, and you home, keep on tweeting Adobe Creative Meetup and tell us what you like. And you in the room, I don't know, Rianne, where are you? There you are. Oh, all right. You were waving.
Yeah.
I wasn't even seeing you. Okay, Rianne. Thank you.
Thank you. So please just join me once more in giving Rufus another round of applause. Rufus Deuchler, everyone. Thank you. Fantastic. So I'm sure you will all agree with me that that was some really inspiring stuff. So as Rufus has already said, please do send your comments to @Adobe UK using the hashtag Adobe Creative Meetup. So we want to know what you've enjoyed so far, what you're looking forward to, so please do send those through. So, before we see any more, it is time for us to take a short break, but before you all get out of your seats, because I see as soon as I say that word, everyone rushes, so please wait for one moment. They're like, let me just tell you what we've got coming up. So here in London, we have our Xd area over there, where you can bring your ideas for an app to life, and we're also showcasing Isabel Leah's interactive variable fonts project. We've got your fun social bingo challenge, so please do look at the cards that are on your chairs to have a go at that game. For those of you joining via the live stream, please don't go anywhere because you have the chance to win some fantastic prizes, including limited edition Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie poster. So please do stick around to join Shane Vincent, talk to Isabel about his involvement in the Spider-Gram competition, which you can join in with at home. We'll be kicking off again here at 8:15, so at that point we'll be joined on stage by our next two speakers, design duo Mina Lima and content creator Patricia Bright. So take a moment now, grab some food and a drink, check out some of the creative interactions we've dotted around, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Creative Meetup London. I am Isabel Lee, and I am the Adobe Creative Resident for the UK, and I'm joined here today in London with photographer Shane Vincent.
Thank you, Izzy.
So we're going to be chatting to you about a really exciting spider-themed competition that you can get involved in. There's a chance to win a MacBook Pro laptop, an iPad, a year subscription to Creative Cloud, and a limited edition Spider-Man movie poster. So let's jump right in. We're running this contest to encourage creatives to create a work of art inspired by the upcoming film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So the film features a lot of really cool cityscapes that show off Brooklyn. And what we're asking people to do today is to, in their own distinct style, create some images that really reflect their hometown or city using Lightroom CC, Lightroom Mobile, Photoshop, Photoshop Mix, or Photoshop Fix. And we've also made some Lightroom presets to help along the way, to help with the layering and editing and enhancing those techniques.
Wicked.
So I'm joined by Shane, who is going to create some really stunning images today in this theme. But before we get into all that, I think we're going to talk a little bit about your photography.
Okay. Yeah, so I have been taking pictures in London for about 8 years. It started as a hobby, as a pastime, as me taking pics of my mates for their Facebooks and MySpaces. To now I'm getting to have the opportunity to sit here and do things like this, which is wicked. But yeah, I guess I would describe my style as street photography. I'm from London, and I like to shoot it how I do. I don't know how to say that I do it, but it's just my weird way of documenting the city, I guess. So yeah, I guess I tried to bring that into this project.
Yeah, because I was looking on your Instagram earlier, and you have a lot of really kind of cool shots that really kind of capture the character of London. Do you have any tips for people that are trying to kind of capture their city in a more authentic way? Yeah, I would say it's very important to just get out to wherever you're from, really, whether it's from the city or wherever. It's just important to get out and just see as much of it as you can, because London's especially is a place that has a lot to offer, and a lot of different great, crazy, interesting people out there that could teach you a thing or two. So it's very important to just get about and just keep an open mind and take whatever's thrown at you. How do you kind of find the places that you go to shoot? Do you have an idea beforehand, or do you just kind of wander and see where it takes you? Yeah,
I like to wander. I like to always be stimulated myself visually, and see as much as I can. But I'm from North London. I'm from Zone 3 in North London, which is kind of like it has the energy of the inner city, but also the juxtaposition of the quietness of suburbia as well. So it's somewhere in between. And for me, that kind of Zone 3 North London is really interesting. I like to shoot around there quite a lot, because it's always changing, especially now it's changing even more. And yeah, I just like to be around and just and take pictures there. But if I get bored there, I'll go to South London.
I mean, it's not that far away,
is it?
It's not
that far at all. It's not.
But yeah, you've got some really cool images as well that I can see on your laptop. So do you want to talk to me a little bit about that one? Because it looks really cool.
Cheers, man. So this is a picture I took of my mate hanging. It looks dangerous. It's not that dangerous. Trust me. I'm not for risking your life for a picture. That's not me. Don't do it. But this is my friend hanging off a block of flats roof in South London that we found. We just stumbled across it and thought, oh yeah, let's see if we can get a rooftop view. Seeing as it was, as you can see, it was quite a hazy sunset, and you could see the East London skyline there in the background, all foggy and misty. And yeah, it was quite a cool atmosphere. So we thought, let's try and get up there. And we went up the stairs. The door was open, thank God, and we got up to the roof. And there was basically a little ledge off the roof where my curious friend decided to try and get onto, and he did. And obviously we made sure he was all right. But just as he jumped down onto the ledge, I just took a picture here, and it looks like he's
clinging on.
Yeah, it looks like he's Spider-Man.
It's pretty dramatic.
It's pretty dramatic. But there's a bunch of presets that Adobe have put out for this competition, and I decided to use one of them that worked really well for it, the midnight one. Da-da, and here we go. Oh no, not that. Whoa.
I guess it's kind of good because you can test them all out before and see which one kind of works before.
Yeah, so you got some wild ones here. This one's wild.
That's pretty dramatic.
That's quite ridiculous. This is this one works for me because it kept kind of the realness of the picture and the scene, but also made it proper dramatic and punchy and a bit dark actually. So yeah, and then after that I fiddled with the other options.
So do you shoot your images in RAW or do you shoot JPEGs? Like, what's your normal kind of process for the image off the back of the camera?
Yeah, I'll shoot in RAW and then just bring that into Lightroom, and yeah, I'll put them into the Lightroom catalog, and then just go through my favorite ones really. There's a little ranking system here, so you can pick your favorites.
That's pretty cool.
5 stars if you like. But really and truly, yeah, and I don't like to edit too much, but Lightroom has a lot of options that you can use. This time I think I messed with the exposure a little bit. I think I brought it up a bit.
Yeah.
And then the highlights down, actually, because I wanted to keep the detail in the clouds and the sky, but also bring the image out a little bit. I think I brought the blacks down a little bit as well to make it a bit more punchy and the contrast up to give it more of that gloominess, that gloomy vibe.
I was gonna say that kind of suits the shot, doesn't it?
And that's, yeah, I mean, and that's, there wasn't much else I did to this. I think I upped the clarity a bit to bring out a bit of detail. And that was really it.
Because that preset kind of starts you off in the right way then, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have used Radioactive for this, because this is too much. For me, that one was too much, but Midnight, yeah, really laid out the foundation really well. So that was great. I took another couple
That one's
of
nice,
pics.
I like that image.
Cheers, man. This was on the DLR from Bank to through East London or whatever. And you can actually look through the front of the trains, which is cool. I always like to do that.
That's well cool.
Like to do that. I like to do that because I like to see the city as I'm going somewhere. That's why I like buses. I don't like the tube, actually. There's not enough to see.
There's a lot of your work that's taken on public transport, actually, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's important to just get out of your area and just explore as much as you can of wherever you're from. So I enjoy doing that. And this, for me, I slowed the shutter speed down a lot, actually, for this shot, just to give it a slight motion. Yeah. Bit of motion in the picture, which was reminding me of Spider-Man zinging through the sea.
Nice.
I felt like him for a moment. And yeah, again, so that was the raw image.
Nice.
I threw obviously the same filter on again.
Do you find you often have like you use the same kind of steps in a lot of your images? Does that like help you create a cohesive feel, or would you say you have a really different process for all your images?
Do you know what? I think I try to keep it consistent because I try to have a certain. I think it's cool if you can see a photographer's work and you can see, that he took it or she took it, because without, do you know what I mean, they have a certain visual style. I'm still trying to build that, I guess. And as sometimes I like to experiment and try something different, but for this I wanted to keep a certain consistency with the shots. So yeah, again, it was quite a similar process. It was like the filter and then adjusting this exposure a bit to bring out the picture a bit more and make the buildings look a bit more.
So that's really cool. I really like this shot. It's quite dynamic.
Thank you. And again, yeah, just upping the contrast to give it a bit of punch.
And when you were out and about, do you tend to just carry a small camera on you at all times, or? Yeah,
do you know what? It's not even a small camera, man. So it's quite
dedicated.
I don't have to go to the gym as often as most people. No, it's really heavy, actually, but it's a great camera, and I do just literally strap it around and just carry it around as much as I can.
Yeah.
And yeah, take as many pictures as I can as well.
Do you ever do any edits in Photoshop, or do you just tend to bring them off the back of the camera into Lightroom?
I used to do edits on Photoshop, but I use Lightroom now because Lightroom is better for me in terms of if you're editing a lot of photos, because you can copy and paste your own presets and blah, 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 and your own editing styles and organize. In terms of organization stuff, it's a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, this again, this editing process for this was quite straightforward, just messing with the shadows and the blacks and there wasn't much detail in the sky, so there wasn't much to do with the highlights. But yeah.
So what kind of tips would you give, like, if people are kind of just starting out with this kind of photography and like maybe they're gonna get a camera for Christmas and they just want to have a go at taking some images? What kind of tips would you give them for getting started?
I would say don't worry really about like the camera you're getting or getting a really expensive camera or anything like that. Just get what you can and just get out and just take pictures, because I think most of the best pictures I've ever seen or were taken on on a phone, or even like, and it can be taken on anything as long as what you're taking a picture of is interesting. I don't really think the technicality of the cameras should be as important.
Because you can get Lightroom on mobile now, right? So I think you can actually make the edits on mobile too, which would be a good way if you don't have your camera on you, or... Yeah,
100%, yeah, exactly. You can do it on the bus nowadays.
I mean, like, I'm a graphic designer and I can use Lightroom, so...
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it is very easy to use, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And what was there? One more. We had one more. So this was in East London, literally just walking along. I don't know, maybe do you think that looks like a spider web to you?
I do, I think it's really cool.
I thought it looked like a spider web.
It does. You didn't smash the window, right?
No, of course.
It's just London windows.
Of course not. Yeah, literally. And yeah, again, I used the same filter. I used the midnight one. Hey, you guys out there might prefer the webby filter or the, what's this? We've got Atlantic Avenue. What do you think that is? What's Atlantic? That
Atlantic Avenue. I was going to say, I think it's probably, I would imagine it's somewhere in Brooklyn based on where the film is set.
That makes sense. Have you been to New York?
Yeah, I like New York. I can't say I've ever been to Atlantic Avenue, but...
I've never been there. But yeah, again, this was, I like this image because the Spider-Man's colours as well are quite blue and red, and this naturally had loads of blues because it had the blue glass in the building in the back, and the kind of blue, whatever this pen graffiti stuff is, over the glass.
It's quite nice, feels quite cold.
Yeah, but I felt like the other two felt quite warm, so this one was a temperature balance situation for me.
You manipulate your tone curve a lot as well, like that's always something that I found quite confusing. Do you?
Yeah, you know what, this one I did. So with the tones, I don't usually do it this much, but it's a bit much, isn't it? But it was quite underexposed, and I wanted to bring up the mid-tones here and make them a bit punchy. You can see the highlights are becoming a bit higher.
So that's definitely something that people can have a play with at home as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely play with the curves, man. And if you wanna soften the shadows, you can bring up the bottom left corner up and fade it a little bit and give it more of a film look. Or if you wanna bring make the whites a bit more soft and off-white, you can bring that top right thing down. And yeah, there's loads of technique. Just play with it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that's kind of really helpful advice for anyone at home who's kind of looking to try and take their own images. If anyone at home wants to get involved, then it's really easy, because these presets you've been using today, you can go to adobespiderverse.com/participate, and then you can download the brief that we've been working to today, and there's an asset kit which has all of the presets that Shane's been using. And then once you've got an image like this, you can share the final shot on Instagram, Twitter, Behance, using the hashtags Spidergram and contest, and just make sure to remember to tag Adobe Creative Cloud so that people can see it. And I think you've given us some really cool tips to get started. I think it's open till 2nd of December.
Yeah.
So
Sunday. Is that Sunday? Yeah, I think so.
So you've still got time?
Still got time, man. I'm trying to win it as well, to be honest.
Yeah. So you can go up against Shane.
He'll probably win. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really fun. It's been it's been a lot of fun running around pretending to be Spider-Man for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been wicked. It's been wicked.
And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing any images that you guys want to share. Hopefully they'll share them with us and we can take a look.
100%.
Well, thanks for being here, Shane.
Thank you, Izzy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage from Adobe, Rhiannon Douglas.
Everybody, welcome back to everyone in the live studio audience. If we can please ask you to take your seats straight away, just so that we can kick off. Thank you. Thank you also for those of you still joining us on the live stream. We're pleased that you've stuck with us, and we're really excited that you're continuing with us throughout the evening. We hope that those of you here in person tonight have had a chance to check out some of the creative spaces around the room, and if not, they will remain in place until after this evening's close. For those of you tuning into tonight's proceedings online, we hope that you enjoyed hearing about the Spidergram competition with Shane and Isabel. And please don't forget to keep your tweets coming in. We want to know what you've been thinking of the evening so far. Send all of your comments to the @Adobe UK using the hashtag Adobe Creative Meetup. Now, moving on to our next speakers. They are the design duo that began their creative collaboration 16 years ago when they started work on creating the graphic universe of the much-loved Harry Potter movies. Since the film series ended, they have continued their involvement in the Harry Potter franchise, designing all of the graphic elements for the wizarding world of Harry Potter Diagon Alley at the Universal Orlando Resort, as well as the graphic props for the new Fantastic Beasts film. Before they take to the stage, please can I ask all of you in the room to lower your voices so we can watch this short video.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This is platform 9 3/4. There's no such thing.
Anything off the trolley, dears?
Please join me in welcoming to the stage Miraphora Mina and Eduardo Lima, the creative geniuses behind the studio, Mina Lima.
Thank you very much.
Wow, what a reception. Thank you. It's kind of a delight to be invited to something like this when we've been staring at that logo for nearly 20 years, the Adobe one, not the Harry Potter one.
Yeah.
But actually, the two things are kind of synonymous for us because I guess we've sort of grown up learning about these apps and this software by virtue of having to work on the Harry Potter films. And perhaps if we'd not had that opportunity, we wouldn't have learned so much because we kind of had to learn on our feet.
Yeah, because we are from a generation that when we were in college, we didn't have computers. So the first time I worked with Photoshop and Illustrator was on the second Harry Potter film.
And really, I think for me, the sort of, you know, there's probably quite a lot of young people here, but actually the command cut and paste for us really was scissors and glue and the photocopier. And in fact, if we try and go through our files now for the work from the first film, there's very little that's been saved digitally because it really was an analog relationship that we had with the work. And kind of something that we've carried through, actually, because we did, by having that analog experience, we kind of learned that it's really important to maintain that that craft of being able to use your hands and marry it with the digital opportunities that mostly Photoshop. That's our sort of main go-to. But it's we absolutely couldn't. People often ask us, you know, which do you prefer? And it's one could not exist without the other. And definitely, you probably saw in some of those little clips there some of the handwork. Anything that you see that's done with ink or aging has to be done with that original process. But you might wonder how we got here.
Yeah.
Give you a little.
When did you get your letter, Mira?
I got my letter in 2000 when no one really knew what that letter was. In fact, I had to design it. So it didn't even exist visually until I was asked to work on the first Harry Potter film. And we both were freelance designers, so we just took the next job that came along, and I think we were obviously very fortunate that it was this one. None of us across the production had any idea of what that franchise would become and what it would mean to both readers, filmgoers, and designers, I think, because we've discovered that actually, as a design opportunity, it's really given us a fantastic scope in which to explore our creativity.
All the Harry Potter films were shot in Livesden, just outside Watford. And we used to call Livesden Studio a Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, because lots of people went there very young and learned through the Harry Potter films, because the Harry Potter films were very unique to have 8 films done back to back during 10 years in this country, and how it changed completely the film making in the UK as well. We are now one of the biggest countries producing films in the world. All the big productions are all being done here, from Marvel's, DC, Star Wars. So Harry Potter was very important to establish the UK as the place to go.
And even from a graphic design point of view, I'd done a couple of films as a graphic designer for props, which most of you will have seen graphic design in films over and over again, but perhaps didn't have an opportunity to completely understand that somebody had gone to the trouble of creating that menu or that newspaper or the signage on the street. And of course, the kind of content that Harry Potter had was so dependent on the visual references to drive the story. And I don't think we had any idea the kind of scope that would unravel. And that's really, I think, changed as well for young graphic designers, because I don't know, but I don't think that there is a course for it in universities at the moment and art schools. So perhaps isn't understood that it is a career option, and you should know that it is. We've gone from maybe a handful of people doing it to now having perhaps 100 or so individuals doing graphic design for film, really from contemporary films and TV right up to the much bigger fiction and historical pieces.
I think also the productions realize now that graphics should be done by graphic designers, not someone that is from the art department that can do things. It needs to be someone that understands about typeface and layout. It's very important to get things right.
And can geek.
And
can
geek,
out.
Yeah. You need to be very geek about typeface and textures and paper.
And actually, that's kind of central to our work is typography. And whilst neither of us studied specifically typography, we hope we're doing the right thing in the work by trying to describe a situation or a historical style or a personality, even in a fictional environment like the magical world, through the choice of typography. And that might be, for those of you that know it, the Daily Prophet becoming a very sort of dictatorship type communication through the use of Russian constructivist style fonts, which some of them we designed, and a lot of them, we actually use typography in a very image way, because on film, of course, we're faking everything, so we don't have to worry about whether something needs to be translated or typeset. We can scan as many old fonts as we want, which we do a lot, and use those as images. So we're working a lot with typography as pixels, not as editable fonts.
And that gets us in trouble because mistakes.
Oh, yeah, you may have noticed some spelling mistakes in those, but it was very quick. We always have we're blessed with very fast editing. So, yes, quite often, I think what Eduardo meant was that quite often we get so distracted, and I'm sure you all have this as well, where you get so kind of distracted by the form and the shapes of your typography and your layout, that you just cannot see the spelling. It's just form. So we did get into trouble. You saw that scene with all the proclamations falling down. I think there were maybe 100 different proclamations, all designed, with quite a few spelling mistakes.
They have to reshoot it.
But really central to, apart from the typography, it's also absolutely vital that we understand what's happened before that moment. So if we're doing the proclamations or the Daily Prophet, we need to understand what happened before that 1 second that you're going to see it on screen. And it's that makes our job interesting, because it might mean we have to do a lot of research, or just understand the character who's got that prop.
So we can be all the characters in the film for a little bit. So some days we can be Umbridge, the next day Professor McGonagall and Dumbledore, because it's what Mira is saying. We need to be the character to design those graphics for them.
When you saw the Weasley joke shop, we can't be Mira and Eduardo designing that work. It needs to be
Fred and George,
two teenage wizards who probably don't have much idea about design, and so you kind of have to throw the rules out a little bit and get into that character. If I'm writing Snape's handwriting, I need to think, well, what kind of thought process would he have before he's going to make a mark on the paper? So all those things are all tied up with storytelling. I mean, that's the thing that connects them all, and the thing that we have a duty to try and describe through the visuals, and does keep it constantly interesting for us as a job, even if we're not working on a wizard film. We've worked on period films, for example, The Imitation Game.
Yeah.
Exactly the same decisions are having to be made about doing the right kind of research to find the right paper and the right typewriter font, or the crayons that we use to mark the documents. Because if we don't understand how the authenticity is, then you won't as an audience. So we're all the time trying to create a complete authenticity, whether it's a recreating of a real situation or a new fictional one.
But our journey on the wizarding world has been 18 years for Mira. Mira is one of the few ones that has been done all the films. I joined her on a second film, and has been absolutely incredible how it changed completely, as I said before, the filmmaking in London especially, but how it kind of brought lots of people together. I moved from Brazil in 2001 and met Mira. She's my best friend now. We have a studio, have a shop, and but sometimes it's like unbelievable that all this has been happening, and and the Wizard World now is getting stronger and stronger, and with Fantastic Beasts, that's going to be 5 films. We just released the second one,
But it's also given us a kind of springboard to develop other ideas. And I think the sum of our parts, we always feel, is greater than had we carried on working as 2 individuals in the film industry. And when we left Harry Potter, we kind of joked about having a studio without actually having a clue about what you do to set up a studio, except that our experience of working in film perhaps had given us an innate understanding of working with other people and a little bit of management. And we've gone from, in 2010, sorry, it's been a long time, when we finished the Harry Potter films, to with 1 assistant in our studio. We now have about 14 people. So we've had a very sort of exponential growth, but that's partly because the reason we started this studio was to be able to take on different kinds of projects and expand our creative combination, our relationship, beyond just the film work. And we sort of jumped into publishing and were able to get good relationships with publishers so that we could work on our own IP and our own ideas. And that's been really important as well as creatives, I think, to be able to share these ideas with other younger designers, brilliant designers who work with us, and expand what we've learnt on the Harry Potter films for our own product and our own produce.
But what's funny, when we finished the last Harry Potter film, we thought that was it. Okay, Harry Potter, thank you very much. But no, we designed...
Won't go away.
Yeah, and they never let us go anywhere. And so during 3 years, we designed all the graphics for the theme park in Orlando, the Diagon Alley. Again, people always ask us, are you not bored to work with the Wizard World, with Harry Potter? It's too many years of your life. And not at all, because it's one of the most famous franchises in the world. And also, every time there is a new challenge. Like, we never designed anything for a theme park before. And to have that challenge to design all the graphics element for that was incredible. And now with Fantastic Beasts, we are all back again. And lots of the same people that work on the Harry Potter films. And it's a completely different environment. We are in 1920s, so it's much interesting for us to recreate a Muggle world in 1920s than a Muggle world that is just how it is outside.
And of course, it's also really satisfying we've experienced this by interacting quite a lot with the Harry Potter fraternity, either at meetings, but also by having our own gallery and shop. And to know that the work, I think across the whole set design, but specifically meeting young graphic designers, or any age actually, doesn't matter. If we've inspired like 1 person or 2 people to make that choice for their career, then that's been incredibly rewarding, because I think in another life we probably would have wanted to be teachers, and we just don't have time to do that. But it's good to know that people feel that there are still opportunities, and we think there are. And it's true that the film industry can be quite impenetrable, and it seems so. But there is plenty of work for doing graphic design for film, and it should be known. It should be taught. When we have time, we will do it.
I remember when I moved to London in 2001, there was just 4 people doing graphics for film, and Mira was one of those people. Now we have over 250 people, and they are all working, they are all busy. And we even set up a union, the graphics union, that anyone can check online, and it's more like a database of who works in films, and if you wanted to work in films, you can put a message there as well. And it has been incredible, because before everyone was kind of very protective of their work, and now everyone is helping each other. And I think it's a little bit like a cloud, like the Adobe Cloud. I think it's the graphics union cloud as well, because now we have this place that we can go and help each other and download things that...
Maybe we need to change the name of it. the Graphics Cloud. Is that allowed from Adobe? Is that allowed? So I don't know how we are for time. So yeah, that last message was really just to sort of say, you know, don't be frightened to leap in and find the bit that you like, because it's people often ask us, you know, sort of how do I develop which bit, but we've found the niche that we like, which is to try and recreate worlds that don't exist through doing research, but inventing a new language, visual language where possible. And we've managed to be employed to do that somehow and keep being employed. So I think if, for example, if we were to do a modern film, we probably wouldn't be very good at it. So I think it's really central to sort of find the thing that you're good at and that you love and that makes you tick, even if it's kind of a weird thing. And to follow it. So go for it.
I just watching Rufus talking before, I'm really excited about the Adobe fonts. I think it's going to be amazing.
We're supposed to be going back to the studio tomorrow, reporting on the things that we just saw, but I think our brains are a little oversaturated with all the commands. And actually, funnily enough, a little aside is that we. An Adobe aside is for a long time we tried, when we set up our studio, we tried to come up with a clever name for our company, and we thought maybe we could take one of the Photoshop commands, and that would be kind of cool, but they were so bad for the business, not for as command. I think we just about came up with merge, but it just and then
merge graphics.
And we kept sort of trying to answer the phone with all these different commands. Yeah, you know. But in the end, someone pointed out that our surnames.
Resize graphics. How can I help you?
Yeah, someone pointed out that our names worked quite well together, and that was the beginning of a really amazing union. And if you ever find anyone you work really well with, even if it's just in a completely different field, just stick with it.
Thank you.
I think it's safe to say that content was phenomenal, and we're all leaving here really inspired. So thank you again to the team at Mina Lima. Thank you. So before we move on to our final speaker, I just want to remind you to keep the tweets coming in using the hashtag Adobe Creative Meetup at Adobe UK. Now, for our final segment of the night, we have another very special guest joining us. But to delve into this further, I would like to hand over and welcome to the stage Simon Morris.
One more time.
Thank you, Rianne. Thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for choosing to spend your Wednesday evening with Adobe rather than watching Champions League or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So we really appreciate you spending the time with us today. Tools like Premiere Pro and After Effects are great for professionals working in a traditional video workflow. But in the past few years, a new breed of video storyteller has emerged. Their studios are living rooms, on the train, in the gym, in short, wherever they find themselves. And their post-production facility might be on their phone whilst they're standing on a packed bus during rush hour. These creators might not have the same resources as studios like Warner Brothers or Netflix, but they're just as committed to quality, and they have the creative freedom to explore any subject that interests them. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage one of the leaders of this new generation of content and video creators, Patricia Bright. As one of the fastest growing lifestyle YouTubers, Patricia's energetic and entertaining YouTube videos have been viewed 250 million times. She recently announced her first book, Hearts and Hustle, which will be published early next year. Let's take a look at a few highlights of Patricia's work and then welcome her to the stage. Let's roll the video.
Hey guys! Hello! Oh wow. Excited versus Pretty Little Things. Babe, interact, be confident, speak up. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Patricia Bright. Thank you for joining us for today's Creative Meetup. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
The first thing I have to ask you, given your kind of fashion and beauty background, is what do you think of the shirt?
I think it's fabulous. I love the floral, and it shows that you're creative inside and out.
Oh, I'm like over the moon. Thank you so much. So you began making YouTube videos around 10 years ago.
Yes.
What inspired you to start?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I was inspired to start, other than that I was an accounting and finance student who was really into makeup and fashion and things like that, but I didn't also have a big social group. So I actually went to the internet, where there are lots of different websites where people were sharing their love for some of these things that my friends didn't talk about. And then I basically stumbled into YouTube because there was this secret online community of girls who would share, you know, their hair journeys and their face and their skincare journeys. And they would also use YouTube to kind of send videos to each other. And then we were just sending videos to each other via YouTube because it was the only way you could really send videos. And then it became what it is today.
Wow. So I'm sure that there are people both kind of in the audience here, on the live stream, who are thinking about getting started with video. And I think getting started is often like the hardest part.
Yeah.
You've spoken about your first video being, I think it was like a minute and a half introduction. How's your content evolved, and what's been the biggest influence?
Yeah, I mean, so when I started putting content out, it wasn't really a plan. I wasn't trying to put content out. I was kind of making videos for the girls in this community. And then I did like an introductory video, which I feel like was more for myself. It was to say what I think I'm going to do. It was like me just saying what my name was. I'm going to do stuff about beauty and fashion. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. You know, I had a tripod, not even a tripod, shoe boxes with a camera on top of shoe boxes in my university dorm's bathroom. So it wasn't really a setup. And then it's changed a lot because I actually think about the content I make and how I make it. And I really just go with the flow with, one, what my audience and people who watch me want to see. And then also, you know, the trend has changed, and I talk about trends and lots of different stuff in the industry.
Great. And so we've got, as you can probably tell, and you've probably spoken to some people, a really incredibly talented bunch of kind of creatives in this room, obviously on the live stream as well. Mm-hmm. Community is something that is so important to Adobe. It's right at the heart of the company. I know it is for you too. Could you give us some more insights into your community and how you keep your fans, your followers, your subscribers really engaged?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my community is more like a friendship group because, again, I did what I do because I didn't have so many friends on the outside world. And so it was a case of I just connected with these girls and women who were into the same thing that I was in. So it was almost like having a conversation, but with this random person in America or wherever they were based in the world. And so it's just kind of this feedback loop where we're all kind of talking and connecting, and that's like the most important thing. If there wasn't the comment section, it's like it wouldn't be as enjoyable, and I feel like the comments and the community make such a big difference and make it really valuable.
Yeah. You spoke about like comments and feedback. When I was kind of looking through in some of your videos, you get like a phenomenal amount of feedback.
Yeah.
How do you let that or not let it impact you and the type of content that you create?
I mean, I'd be lying to say that I didn't think it impacted me, because I read everything. I get like 2,000, 3,000 comments sometimes, but I spend hours like scrolling till my eyes bleed, like scrolling through comments and stuff. But I think it's about working out what's valuable, like valuable feedback, what's a good idea, because, you know, sometimes I run out of ideas and then someone just makes a suggestion. I'm like, that's great. But then there's times where they're just random spam comments as well that aren't that valuable. So I think after just looking at so many comments, I kind of get to know what I need to take on board and then what I don't need to take on board. But there's always some gems in there as well.
Okay. So when it comes to that content or the comments that you get back and the feedback you get, I guess also you can get some pretty nasty stuff. Do you have to develop a very kind of hard shell, or do you just try to kind of filter that?
Yeah, hard shell would be great, but I'm a softie, so I still get really, I mean, I do get upset by negative comments, but then you also understand that, you know, there are just some people who, you know, because they're on YouTube and they don't have necessarily a face to their comments, they kind of say what they want, and you kind of learn to realize they're just trolling, and you kind of, you know what trolling is eventually, so you're just like, oh, that's a troll comment, or that's actually mean and it hurts and I should probably take it on board or not take it on board.
It's interesting because, you know, whenever I kind of post an Instagram photo or a tweet or particularly on Facebook, I like religiously have one feedback, one piece of comment. It's always my mum, and it's always multiple emojis with the heart. It's very, very, very sweet. Not quite in the same league. So you know, we saw actually in the video, we've kind of touched upon the different platforms that you use. Obviously, we spoke about YouTube, there's Instagram, and Twitter. Can you maybe talk about how you think about the content and how it kind of relates to the different types of platforms?
Yes, so if you guys don't know, I make mainly YouTube videos, which I've been doing for literally the last 10 or so years. And it's changed a lot, but you know, I kind of do what they call long-form content, but really, in the wider world, it wouldn't be considered long-form. But in comparison to something like Instagram, where video content is like 1 minute, 30 seconds long, what I do on YouTube is more sit-down, thought-out, more scripted, but not to appear too scripted. And then what I do on Instagram is a bit more short, cut to the trace, because people's attention spans are a lot shorter. And so you have to get your message, try and get my messaging across as quick as possible, or show like an outfit as quick as possible, or, you know, show a quick transformation, where say on YouTube, it will be, let's have a cup of tea, let's get comfortable, have a chat. It could be 30 minutes long and people don't mind.
Yeah, great. So I think everyone's kind of recognizes that video is incredibly exciting, it's dramatically changing, and as many of you know, Rufus mentioned it a little bit earlier, we launched Premiere Rush last month. I know that you've tried it.
Yes.
What are your initial thoughts?
I think it's really, really good. I think it's great for like editing on the go. So I use it on the mobile. And it's really simple, and I'm not a pro. I think this is the whole reason why I'm sitting here. It's like, I'm literally not a pro. I taught myself everything on literally watching YouTube videos. But I've learned to become a bit more technical, but I'm kind of lazy. And I feel like Rush is so good. You can just clip, put music underneath it, find your clips really easily. You can colorize, adjust light so easily on the go, which I think is really valuable, because I find that nowadays people want this like instant content. It's not like, okay, I'll shoot and I'll edit in a week from now and then it will go out the week after. It's like, what's happening right now, and get it out as quick as you can, but you still want it to look good. So it's really good for that.
Absolutely, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about your creative process. You're creating day in, day out, maybe even like hour in, hour out. Where do you get your creative inspiration from?
I am a YouTuber's YouTuber, because I watch so much content. I live, breathe, sleep, wake up, eat for breakfast like YouTube. So I watch a lot of videos from lots of different worlds. So right now I'm really into like watching Tasty and watching like food videos, even though I do makeup and beauty. And then I also try to work out where there are gaps. So because I watch so much, I kind of work out what's missing or what do I think I'd like to see, and I create off the back of that. I'm also influenced by, you know, my people in my community as well. I enhance on what they do, put my own twist on it. I feel like you can't necessarily recreate the wheel, but you can just create it better in the way that works for you.
Great. And I mean, you obviously travel a lot as well. You recently got back from Los Angeles. That's where I think Rufus mentioned, we held MAX there a few weeks ago. How does like LA compare to UK? How much has being in London influenced your creativity?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of creative energy out in LA. I feel like everyone's optimistic that they're doing something amazing and it's about to happen and it's about to drop. And there's lots of yeses and this is going to be amazing and so cool and a lot of big promises, which is why I like people in the UK. I feel like we're very honest, like this is going to happen potentially, or this isn't going to happen, versus the lots of promises and like the hype that you get LA-wise. But in the same breath, I think that there's this element of hopefulness and dreaming that I've found out there that I feel like it's nice to see. You know, we as the British should probably take it on a little bit more, that kind of delirious optimism.
And do you feel that there's in terms of like the pace of kind of the creative process or the pace at which things are happening, is it noticeably faster in LA compared to London?
Yes. I mean, in my space, so I feel very lucky because in the US, I feel like people grow very quickly. So in terms of, let's put subscribers as a number, you know, they get to 1 million, 2 million really quickly, really easily. And I think that there is that kind of US-UK divide that happens a lot. But then I've been lucky enough to kind of cross that divide and grow as well, compared to maybe, let's say, other people in the UK. Relatively, I have a high number of subscribers, but maybe that's because of just, I don't know, maybe connecting across borders. But I do think that there's something that's very quintessentially British that people are also drawn to in this space. Like, you know, there's no, I can't swear, but there's no bull, basically.
So our vision for Creative Cloud is enabling creativity for all. And we want to make it easier for anyone who has a story to tell that story with impact. How challenging was it for you as you kind of grew up and experimented to kind of get access to tools and advice to succeed?
Yeah, so my background prior to doing all of this is I was an accountant. I did accounting and finance, and then I worked in banking. So my only form of creativity was an Excel spreadsheet. That is what I worked on a day-to-day basis. So everything I learned about creativity, editing, putting clips together, colorization, I learned via social media platforms. YouTube was my teacher. I didn't go to any classes or do any courses or anything. And you know, I started when I was younger, and I was also relatively broke. So, you know, I would have friends who used to, you know, edit and stuff like that, and they would give me their, I think it was their like, validation key, and I would, basically it was fraud. We shouldn't have really been sharing these keys. And so access was a little bit, so we don't do that anymore. Thank you for Creative Cloud, this is great. And I feel like then, I feel like people relate to this. How many of you guys were sharing CDs? Yeah, it happened. I know it did, right? But it was a case of you kind of needed to be in the know. So I'd have to ask around. And actually what ended up happening is that a few people who would watch my videos, that at this time, they weren't even edited. It was like I'd record a clip. You'd see me like press the camera on, fumble around, fumble and be like, okay, bye. And then you'd see it like fumble and turn off. And I'd put it straight out because I didn't even know how to edit. And then someone actually reached out to me who was doing either a photography course or something. And they were like, oh, you know, I can show you how to edit and do a bit of Photoshop, and here's some links. And so, yeah, that was really helpful. What was the question?
I've completely forgotten that, I'm sorry.
Oh no, access.
Access.
So yeah, there was a lot on social media that was really good. And then there were, you know, it's so interesting when you have other creatives who reach out to you to give you a hand. But then now I feel like there's just so much information and it's affordable, and you can afford to pay for Photoshop nowadays.
You certainly can.
Which is good.
So let's move on to your book. Yeah. So I mentioned you've got this book coming out early next year. One of the things you talk about in the book is about having the odds stacked against you. What's kind of kept you going? Who are some of the individuals that have influenced you on your creative journey?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of odds stacked against me, I feel like that's life. I feel like everyone feels like they can have odds stacked against them. It's just how they choose to respond to it. And I think my response in general when it comes to life is like, you can't die. Like, I'm not going to just keel over and sit down. I just don't have that option. So I'm kind of like, well, if that's not an option, then I might as well do something. And then I try to always, progress on what I'm currently doing. So again, my goal is not to be like the most perfect, amazing YouTuber with the most amazing footage. And I could do that, if I wanted to sit down for like 12 hours to edit each video, but I kind of know what I like. I kind of know what my audience like. But I do try to improve on what I've done in the past, because I feel like you feel almost a sense of self-pride when you're doing better than you did in the past. Upgrading camera equipment and all that jazz, and software is great. And then my mom, I think, is a motivation for me as well, because she encouraged me to just do what I wanted to do, especially in this space, because I quit a good job to follow YouTube when there wasn't a thing called YouTube, and people say, is that even a career? And I think as well, when I was interning, so I got a job at like a really big investment bank. It was Merrill Lynch, which is kind of like Goldman Sachs. And a few of the interns found my videos because it was on my Facebook page, and I got ripped into. And I actually put my profiles on private, and I stopped doing YouTube for about 6 months because I was so scared about what people were going to say. And then my mum was like, why are you bothered about what they think? Like, do what you want to do. And I carried on doing it, and I don't work in the city anymore. So that's good.
Good for you. So you're coming up to your 10-year anniversary on YouTube. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
What's changed over those 10 years?
What's changed? I mean, I think the fandom. I think there's a lot of fandom now. So as I said, when I started, it was like just people trying to send videos to each other or sharing what they're interested in. And it was really it was almost like Reddit of video at the time. And now it's kind of become a bit more fanatical. It's an entertainment platform. It's become extremely curated, but there is still pockets of that like authenticity and individual stories that people want to see. But it's changed a lot.
Yeah. And in terms of like kind of looking forward now, what's next? What's coming next for Patricia Bright?
Oh, for Patricia Bright, I mean, well, my book is coming out next year. And, I'm lucky to work a lot with a lot of different brands. So I have some brand work in the pipeline and also some product in the pipeline as well. So half of my job is talking about products and brands to my audience and kind of testing and reviewing what's out there. I'm kind of like a secret shopper. Is that what I am? Maybe? I feel like that's what I am. And
not so secret.
No, not so secret, right? Really public shopper. But it's a case of like, how do I then, rather than also showcasing what brands have, based on the audience feedback, what do they actually want? And then delivering that as well is something I really want to focus on.
And I think I read something around a online business school for...
Yes. So that's another side thing I'm doing. It's a digital course to really help other people in this world who want to be influencers and do what I do, and actually break down how it actually works. So there's a stat, I think, in that. I think it's 70% of teenagers or people in school, they actually want to become YouTubers and they want to be social media influencers. But what does that practically look like? And I feel like there wasn't any preparation for myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it all out there. I'm going to share all the details. And that's what the course is going to do.
Great. Good luck with that. So we are kind of getting to the end.
Yeah.
One of the things that we like to do, what we like to end the interviews with, is a word association game.
Yeah.
So really simple. I'm going to give you one word, maybe two, and all that you need to do is respond really quickly with the first word that comes to mind.
Okay.
Got it? Social media.
Friends.
Adobe.
Innovation.
Creativity.
Fun.
Content.
Beauty.
Patricia Bright.
Oh, that's nice. I was going to say, good fun.
2 words, but I'll let you have them.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me and give me a huge round of applause to Patricia Bright. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Simon, and please join me once again in giving another thanks to Patricia Bright. So, sadly, this is the end of tonight's event. What an incredible evening, I'm sure you'll agree. I'm definitely going to be leaving here hugely inspired by everybody that I've heard from, so hopefully you're feeling the same way. For everyone that's here in London, please do make sure to visit the creative spaces because they will still be open after the event, so grab a drink and have a little mooch around. All that remains for me to say is thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you again to all of our fantastic speakers for some thought-provoking and inspiring content. And thank you for everyone here in the room and also online. Please, please travel home safely, and we'll see you next time. Good night.